All right, so now that we've gone over all the specific design elements within Flex, let's take a look at a few pre-made layouts and dig into them and see how they were made and why they're either using an inner column or an advanced grid and how they are arranged between different breakpoints. The template here on screen is our Good Pop template and it's built entirely in Flex. Let's just dive right into this hero section and see how it was built. So first, let's open up that layers panel and we could see the structure of this section and the various elements and containers that make up the content. We could see that this section contains an advanced grid, and if we click on that advanced grid and head over to the design panel, we can see that the grid is a simple 1 by 1, resulting in no columns or rows other than just the one that contains this content. The reason we've done this is because this content is not going to stack or anything, and we don't need any kind of underlying structure to follow. If we go down to the smaller breakpoints, we can see that the content just piles up on top of itself, and we can see the hero image behind and the content on top. Speaking of that inner column, we chose an inner column to hold this content because all of the content within is vertically stacked. So there was no reason to choose an advanced grid and make this more difficult by having to manually arrange the content. We want the content to remain vertically stacked regardless of the layout, and so the inner column is the best container to achieve that. Now, let's scroll down to the How to Order section. Here we see we have a 2-column layout with text and video. Let's select that section, and taking a look at the layers panel, we can see this layout is simply created by using 2 flex columns. We've done this because we want the 2 columns to stack on smaller breakpoints. And again, we want the content to always remain vertically aligned. So we have the text and button placed into an inner column. And on the right, we have a simple video widget that's been placed inside of an inner column as well to ensure that it maintains its size and fills the flex column. And to achieve that, if we select the inner column and then take a look at the design panel sizing options, we can see that we've set the size of the inner column to be 100% width. So that video is always going to have no margins around it. So let's scroll down the page and take a look at another piece of content. Coming down to our Happy Customer section, we have our Reviews section. And we can see from our Layers panel, if we select the Flex section, this section is a little bit more complicated and it has more elements within. So let's break this down and you'll quickly realize that it's pretty easy to recreate this. So let's start by clicking on the first inner column in this section. Once we do that, we can burrow down into this column and we can see that each of these inner columns only contains 5 elements. Again, we want to keep those elements vertically stacked, so that's why we chose the inner column. But those elements within it are simply an icon widget, a text widget, a horizontal inner column, and that contains an image widget and an inner column that holds 2 text widgets. Now, the benefit for using and the reason we chose to use inner columns for this layout is that because as you transition to smaller breakpoints, we can see that content will automatically resize and stack as needed to fit the screen. And if we wanted to, let's head over to the tablet layout. We can see that we can override the column's layout and specifically choose the layout we want to use from the layout section of the design panel, as we can see here. Now, I know working in Flex is a little bit different of a mindset than you're used to using. And because of this, we do like to recommend using pre-designed sections whenever possible. So let's say that I wanted to add a grid of images with some captions. If we head over to the pre-designed sections panel, we can see that we have a pre-made section that looks pretty close to that. We can then select the section, hit save, and now we can go in and modify this section as needed to achieve the layout we're after. So maybe we don't want the buttons. We can go in and delete the buttons and replace them with, say, an icon widget or whatever you may need to do. But the underlying structure is there and built out for you, which is the important part. And another benefit also is that it's already beautiful across different breakpoints. So you don't need to go through and modify it breakpoint by breakpoint. All right, well, I hope you enjoy exploring Flex and digging into those pre-made layouts to learn more about how this system works and how you can achieve some really unique looks. In our next video, we'll be going over some essential elements and recapping some important aspects to remember while working in Flex.